We are the music makers, and we are the dreamers of dreams.
Namesake be damned, was interested in it, but it's hard for them to translate. Before this, there was no, we had Loki. This year we got Loki. We're getting Hawkeye later this year, and WandaVision, and Falcon and Winter Soldier, or Captain America. So I just think it's so cool they're putting that much money into it. There's a lot of money involved with that, and possibly because I know ABC, who is owned by Disney at that point, had Captain Carter or Agent Carter, and it didn't do particularly well because maybe at that point they didn't know how much to put into it. But now, I mean, as you and I have kind of followed this whole Marvel television experiment, there's a lot of money that goes into it. They're hiring A-list actors, and they're creating interesting storylines, and especially for Loki. I mean, so I would be totally down for that. It's and the cost value too, right? That's the biggest thing for Disney. So, to do that, to do a live, I mean, I don't know what the budgets were for those 3 television shows we mentioned, and then the 4th being Hawkeye, but I would imagine it being sizable. And so for something that people might not get on board with, or might be skeptical about, or realize, well, it's a one-off. It's like this doesn't really matter. And the part you alluded to where it's now canon, that just came out. That came out when they announced that, what, yesterday, really? Well, yeah, but I mean, I think they announced it as canon earlier in the week, but regardless, now that people can kind of believe it and get behind it, where it's not like, well, that's a cool idea, because I came from that school. I'm like, well, okay, great, but it doesn't mean anything. You know what I mean? There's no value there, because it's all as the name implies, what if? Well, sure, but that's not what happened. So, because now I think people really enjoyed the show, the first episode at least. I think there's now added value to that, to see those characters. I mean, how did you feel about it? I mean, I know that, so do you know if the Watcher is an actual character, or is he something they made up for the show?
Oh no, the Watcher's been around forever in the comics and stuff like that
Oh,
too.
really?
And in Guardians 2, when they're jumping back and forth trying to get to Ego's planet, Rocket and Yondu and stuff, that's
Uh-huh.
what oh my god, what's the guy who does all the camos? I'm spacing his name.
Oh, Stan Lee.
Stan Lee. That was Stan Lee's cameo in Guardians 2 was him sitting there and talking to a bunch of Watchers. He was like telling his stories and stuff like that
Oh,
too. So there's I think there's 6 Watchers or something like that, and they're all assigned to different like universes and stuff to watch over, right? So unlike in
right.
Loki, with the Time Masters that can control the timeline, these watch the entire universes and stuff, right? So they're able to see pretty much everything, and they're able to do that without being seen or being pretty much they can't be seen unless they show themselves, make themselves known, pretty much, right? Like unlike in
I
Loki,
see.
where you can go find a Time Masters or find Kang and stuff like that too. Watchers just basically watch everything. They really don't have their hands in the flow of time or reality or something like that. And in the very beginning of the show, they even like preference that, saying like reality, space, time are all linear, and we watch over it all. Like, so you even like talked about how
Right.
he was doing that, and he was watching this timeline. He was like explaining to his audience, which is us and everybody else, that these are some of the stories that may have happened. So are these some of the branches from the Loki storyline? Are they flowing linearly like that with these shows? I don't know. We can't really make that assumption at this point. We just know that these are separate stories, and we only have the first pilot really to tell us that too. So it's going to be very interesting to see
Yeah.
where they go from that.
I thought it was cool the way they set the premise too, because when we talk about the word multiverse has been kicked around a lot over the past few years, since Infinity War and Endgame, and then now
Yeah.
our Ant-Man. So that's a lot. I mean, and so it's kind of a buzzword, but what does that mean, or how do you get into it? And you talk about Earth 2, because the new Batman film's taking place on Earth 2 as well, from my understanding of it.
Mm-hmm.
Hashtag DC. Um,
Yeah.
in the so I think what was really smart is when, during the monologue, through the Watcher, and they're talking about how the movie that we know, when we pick up, we're saying that Peggy could have gone to the room and she didn't, and he says that's it, that's the moment right there where it kind of branches off. That's where, it becomes multi. And so, in one of her universe, she goes and then Steve Rogers becomes Captain America, and ones where she doesn't. And we get that in the What If series, and she becomes Captain Carter. And I think that was really cool how they did that, because for a lot of people, multiverse is such a nebulous word and idea. And so here the watcher says, yeah, it's in this moment that something doesn't go how you thought it would, or how you expected it to, or has in the past, and creates a new timeline. And I think that's really, and Loki did that well too. Seeing this was really cool. I really enjoyed it, man. I really enjoyed it. What did you think of the voice acting? Because
the voice actors, they used a lot of the same ones, right? So Bucky was the same guy. Peggy Carter was still played by Haley Atwell. Steve was actually played by somebody else, but he's been other Marvel heroes. He's been like Spider-Man in the Amazing Spider-Man show. He's been Iron Man in the Iron Man video game that came out and stuff like that too. So
I didn't know that.
Some of these were very same actors, or very same voice actors. I'm curious to know if Killmonger is going to be played by Michael B. Jordan, because that'd be pretty cool.
Yeah.
So
that's a good question.
I just rewatching the trailer and stuff and like that, and looking at all this stuff and the breaking down stuff. I really, I love different universes. I love different takes on a lot of different things that happen. DC does a really good job of that. Marvel does a really good job of that. And the fact that they're now making this from just being comics into something that's now going to be a show is going to be pretty cool. We're going to see maybe a different Doctor Strange. We're going to see a different take on, Captain America as Peggy Carter takes up the shield and stuff like that too. So it's going to be very, very interesting to see those, stories unfold. Pretty much.
Yeah,
they do make different nods to other things. Like, for example, when she saves Bucky, he's like, "Careful, you almost ripped my arm off." You're like, "Aha!" That's a little nod to the fact that he's Winter Soldier. But not only that, when people say, "Oh, yeah, it's offering different stories," I'm like, you're also losing a lot of some of these stories. Now that universe doesn't have a Winter Soldier, right?
Right.
Because he didn't get captured by the Hydra. They captured Steve, but Steve didn't become like a different, like, Killmonger, like Iron Man guy, right? He was captured, and then they saved him pretty much right afterwards.
Right, and I thought that he would have, and I thought, holy shit, they're gonna make Steve die, and then they're gonna turn him into Winter Soldier, and that would have jumped, decades of storytelling for sure, because we don't see Winter Soldier pop up until I think it's the 80s when they start. But again, I'm not the history of Winter Soldier to me is kind of foreign, but I agree. I think that, and that's why I think these kind of have to exist as one-offs, because you take all, Marvel's created all of these storylines, and now to go back and say, well, let's move this part to here, and you have these cascading effects where, like you mentioned, there is more Winter Soldier, and Steve was going to die at that point, or Steve's going to die, within a few years. I just think it's interesting, and that's my problem with it too, though. I remember when I saw the trailer for all this, I was not as excited for this as I was for Falcon and Winter Soldier, even Loki, because it's like
you were more excited about those than you were excited about this.
I wasn't, but I am now, because of how the animation is. It's fun. My problem with and again, this is still my problem with all these one-offs, and I know they're big in comics. You can have like a one-off issue where you kind of bend the rules and you shape them to this particular experience. But but all of these things are interesting, but that's all they are, is interesting. They're not changing anything. They're just mini stories, and that's fine on face value.
They could be, but they could, like they said, that is canon. So maybe what happens here could possibly affect more live action MCU movies. Say, for example, they do some weird, like we have the Doctor Strange and Multiverse of Madness, right? We could get some of these characters from this show in that movie. Think about that, right? Like that could be.
That's how that would work.
Right. They could bring it in like that, so that'd be very interesting. For like example, one of the things that let me bring it up on screen right here. One of the things that was very interesting to me is that they were able to do stuff like this in the show. Like this whole action scene, right? That happens between Peggy Carter and the Nazis in Berlin. Like, You know how much like of a stunt, like all the paperwork and the money that it would have taken them to do that.
Forever, yeah. And the money alone would have been astronomical. Yeah, yes.
Right? Like this whole scene, like most of the stuff that she does here, I'm like, I don't think I saw Steve Rogers come even close to this. You know?
Yeah, not on the introduction. I think that it was great, and I think that's part of it too, right? Because we're used to seeing what Captain America can do from his library of stuff from the first Avenger all the way up until Endgame. So that has to be kind of incorporated into some of the stuff you see in the short window with Captain Carter, which is fun. It's great. I think that's such a cool thing. So.
And you like lighting a lot of the time, right?
I do.
Okay.
I do.
So let's go back. Let me roll back to this real quick here. This whole scene right here with the headlights going back and forth with the shield. That right there was probably the coolest thing that they did. Let's because the way they did lighting in an animation, which is 2D, right? Not really 3D. It's 2D. Adding the light in there gave so much depth to those episodes and those scenes like that. Because every single time she haloed with like the headlights from the cars and stuff like that too. So watching that, I was actually able to appreciate lighting in that more so than in a live action movie. I think that's something that they actually did really well.
No, I couldn't agree more. It was great. I thought that was such a cool thing that they did for that. I 100% agree with you. The way that they lit it was just so entertaining. Like I hope they continue it. You know, I got excited waking up. I've seen it 3 times. Like I'll put it on.
You watched it 3 times?
Dude, yeah. I watched it when it came out, and then I watched it with Jessica, and then I would just watch it to have it on the background because of how fun it is. It's just a fun story.
It's a pilot episode, man. Stop being such a fanboy, Chris. Jesus.
Yeah, a pilot episode when they're using stuff that we've grown accustomed to for over a decade. So I mean, how much of a pilot episode can you really be, though? You know, when you.
No, I know that's true, very true. I mean, even think about it, like the scene where Red Skull is in Torrenberg, right, in Norway, and he gets the Tesseract. Like they changed. That was like pretty much almost word for word, beat for beat for how it was in the first Captain America movie, right?
It totally was.
When he was like, but then totally the one thing that they did change is like if you look at the thing, it shows like the Tesseract shows a little circle and it shows tentacles, right, showing that he could do that as well too. So that's what happens at the end. They pretty much summon that monster, the tentacle monster from like the other world, who people have been saying it's like Shumagorath or something like that. It's like this big tentacle monster in the Marvel comics and stuff. So they think that they're alluding to that being one of the things. So that was interesting to see them add that part, because think about it, like in that course of that line, after Red Skull. So he doesn't really ever get to use the Tesseract until he opens that portal, right? So they didn't really have any of the weapons that they had from that movie, nor would they continue even having Hydra weapons like that, moving on to like Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., Captain America 2, Captain America 1, Avengers 2 with the old Age of Ultron and stuff like that too. Right. Because they got the Tesseract from them right off the bat, and S.H.I.E.L.D. pretty much had it from there on. So I'm curious to see if they continue with that storyline with Peggy Carter in the next episode or something like that, or if they're going to go to the Killmonger Black Panther and stuff like that too instead. How that's going to affect that world, because Hydra's really not a super weapon at that point because they didn't have the Tesseract.
That's a good point. I wonder if they will see, and you're right. It is a pilot, and you nailed it. Those are excellent points that I didn't actually think about when I was fanboying, because you're right. If we jump ahead 30 years or 40 years and we end up where Tony gets ambushed in Afghanistan or wherever the fuck he's at and saved by Killmonger. Hydra, and I will say that at that point, the first Iron Man, we didn't really get a lot of inklings of Hydra. It was really him against I can't think of the other guy's name. Jeff Bridges plays him, but it wasn't
Ironmonger. Yeah.
Thank you.
That's my name in the chat. That's my name for that. Steve Rogers, not the, what was it, Hydra Stomper that they had. Stupid name in my opinion. That's my name for him. If you have the chat pulled up.
Oh, Tessaman?
Tessaman. It's very feminist. It's very forward thinking. But it's also including Tesseract and Man. So there you go. You got Tessaman.
Yeah. Well, I was super stoked about it. And I think next week we're getting the zombie one. My understanding is we're getting the zombie one next week.
I hope so, because I'm really curious. Because I don't know if you read the comics or anything like that too, but like the Undead Marvel, they did it in DC too, but Undead Marvel heroes and stuff like that is very, very interesting.
Wait a minute, there's an actual comic that they cover that?
Oh yeah, I think there was like one comic where there was a Peggy Carter that got the serum instead of Steve, because there is a Captain Britain who uses a shield very similar with the Union Jack on it and a sword, and apparently he's supposed to use Excalibur and stuff like that too. So that was really cool nod, in my opinion, with her having the sword and the shield fighting the monster. One of the things I wasn't really on board for is like there's tentacles, right, and she's just pushing it back into the portal with shield. But the tentacles aren't really trying anymore to grab her. I'm like,
yeah,
you're not using like a blaster rifle or like lasers to put. You're just like physically pushing this giant monster in with just nothing but you and the shield. I don't know that part where she's putting. I kind of disbanded this. I didn't believe that anymore. AJA, what's up? Marvel Zombies. Yep, Marvel Zombies. Marvel Zombies. That comic, that was a good one. I liked that one a lot. I liked DC's better because it was like Superman if they get touched or bitten, they become zombies now too and stuff like that too. So that's really cool. I like that. But so you think I haven't looked on IMDb, so you think it's the zombies one next week? I thought it was gonna be the Iron Man one.
The trailer that I saw was and again, the one that if you look at the circle,
Mm-hmm.
the second ring of the What If circle is the zombie one. The next one after that is the Iron Man Killmonger one.
Okay.
At least that's how I saw it.
See, I just thought it would be Iron Man next, because if you go in order of like how these heroes became heroes, if you think about it, Iron Man's the first, not Iron Man, Captain America's the first Avenger, right? And then you have Iron Man, who pretty much starts off the MCU in modern times. So I don't understand why they would go to the zombies next. Maybe they will. I don't know. It's not linear, right? All these things, like the Watcher says, is reality, time, and space are all linear itself, but we watch it all happen at the same time. Deceased, yes, has a better story. I would completely agree, AJ. It's very hard to beat DC. Very, very, very hard.
Just so you know, Nate, AJ boy, that he's my new roommate. Officially.
He's the new roommate. What's up, new roommate?
He's moving in.
See, but he might be your new roommate, Chris, but he's my new best friend. My best friend. Speaking of DC, I don't know, Chris, have you watched the season 3 trailer for
the trailer?
Titans?
Yeah, I saw. We watched the trailer yesterday and again today. It's a great fucking trailer, by the way.
Yeah, let's pull that up here real quick. Let's see this, because the first season was okay. The second season was really, really good, and I'm really excited about this one. I'm really excited.
The production value in this looks great. There's a lot of money in it.
Right?
Bruce was a psychopath, using fear to control everyone.
Who is this? Do you know?
This is the first Robin talking about Jason Todd, who in the comics got killed by the Joker. There's even a DC animated movie called Death in the Family that has Joker, Batman, and Red Hood or Jason Todd in it as well too, and it's very, very dark. DC's just dark, man. That's why I love it. It's very, very real and stuff like that too. The Joker's voiced by Alan Tudyk, I think. Red Hood's voiced by Jensen Ackles. That right there, that scene with that Batman, or Bruce Wayne, so to speak, played by from Game of Thrones, Davos. He's a very good Bruce Wayne.
We're investigating this new Red Hood case.
And they have Barbara Gordon in it too. Her whole story about being in the wheelchair is completely dark. Very, very dark. Joker pretty much shoots her and then rapes her, and that's why she's in the wheelchair.
Oh, God, it's turned upside down.
I think I'm losing my mind.
We've got Starfire, Dawn, Hawk. Yeah. Red Hood.
For cases like these.
Is this like a 10-episode series?
Yeah, this is season 3, so they're all on HBO Max if you guys haven't watched it, but you should definitely watch it. Drake Bell's Nightwing. Yeah, Cloud. I don't know if Drake Bell's in a very good standpoint with his court case right now, which would be very, very sad.
It's just his opening move.
Oh, by the way, they have freaking spoiler. First pilot. It's not really a big spoil. They have Scarecrow in the show.
We show no mercy.
But I'm a big fan of HBO, man. Titans, Doom Patrol, and stuff like that too. I'm all about that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
It's just I like it. I like it better than Marvel stuff, man. I mean, don't get me wrong. I'll watch a freaking Marvel, show like What If and stuff like that too. But look what I'm wearing again. Batman, bro. I've almost put on the mask just for you, Chris. But dude, Titans is great. It's 3 seasons in. What If's only got 1 pilot, so which one's beating? Who's winning?
Well, did you? I forget what director came out and said it, but they basically said that Marvel.
AJ, thank you so much for correcting me. You're right.
DC and entertainment, when it comes to live action films, that they should just quit. I wish I want. I'm gonna look it up and I want to put it in the chat, but yeah, I mean, it's hard to argue with the success that Marvel has had. But I will say this: that looks good. That looks, that doesn't look bad. You
can't really chalk it up to Marvel's success anymore. It's Disney's success. They bought Marvel, so it's not really Marvel anymore, in my opinion. Oh, I'm sorry. If the mouse is pulling the strings, I'll bet on Warner Brothers every day.
Well, then you would definitely lose because there is no more profitable studio than Disney.
But who was the powerhouse in the very beginning? Come on, talk about it. Warner Brothers was in it for the longest and still in it longer than anything else.
But actually, it's Universal too, so it's not just Warner. It's beyond that.
True.
But I think in terms of what we're talking, and again, of course, they're comic book movies, right? I think it's we go back to what Scorsese said, and he says they're comic book movies and they're fun, but at the same time, if we're looking at studios who has the most skin in the game, well, then that's different. I mean, we could be talking about cinematic classes.
And I'm not even pulling out my ace in the hole card, man. I'm not even talking about Nolan universe. The fact that it's like the first superhero movie that actually got an Oscar, so
But that actually wasn't DC canon. They said that.
True. It's not. I mean, yeah, but let's talk about. I mean, neither is Venom, Deadpool, or some of the Spider-Man stuff either, right?
Sure, but we're talking about Disney.
Yeah, I mean, we could pull threads all day long, right? I mean,
well, I agree.
but you like Marvel, I like DC, and that's why we're friends, because we both can enjoy the same thing.
Well, honestly, to me, I'm just looking to be entertained. I like Man of Steel. Like I tell everyone, I watched Man of Steel the other day, and I still enjoy it.
Yeah.
So I don't have like a flag on one camp or the other camp, but I think that it's impossible to argue the success that one has had compared to the other, because in terms of success, one is highly successful and one has been. It's hard to argue that DC has been even, in the same ballpark. But again, people like the first Suicide Squad. People loved it. I fucking hated it.
I'm raising my hand still on that.
I
mean, I talked about Suicide Squad on ReelChat last week, and the fact that some of the stuff I felt like they didn't really. They kind of like King Shark, in my opinion, was very just a dumb Groot in a shark body. Right? Like
I fucking loved King Shark.
I love King Shark too, but they didn't do like all I wanted him to say was King Shark is a shark. That's like one of his main lines ever. King Shark was like a Superboy hero, like his villain in the very beginning, right? Before he even fought Aquaman or anything like that either. But Nolan made a James Bond trilogy with good villains. Holy shit, well put, AJ. I like that. I like that a lot. That's a good freaking point, man. But like, let's. Well, you posted that. There you go. But let's talk about it for a second, right? Okay, so Suicide Squad's back to back. I like the fact that James Gunn kind of used some of the same actors and stuff. Some of the actors or the characters he got rid of that I was big fans of, I wasn't really down for and stuff like that either. There's just a lot of stuff in that movie that just fell flat for me, so to speak. Just like some stuff in Marvel falls flat for me as well too. If I was to look at the Disney Marvel movies or shows, I should say, coming out right now, out of like levels of interest, WandaVision was really good, and certainly it was different than what I was expecting, which was awesome. Captain America and Winter Soldier I was not a big fan of, to be completely honest, and I was hoping to be a big fan of this, and I know we went over this constantly. We did like a whole, 3 weeks of us reviewing that show, right, Chris?
Yeah.
I wasn't a big fan of it. I really wasn't. I liked Loki. Loki was just so much better.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I agree. And But it is their first go at it, and this is kind of where if we were comparing apples to apples,
Mm-hmm.
the DC has a strong hold on television shows, right?
Yes.
I mean, the Arrowverse, which the Flash show, Arrow, they have a Superman show, a Supergirl show.
Smallville
They've got,
was the first one. I remember watching Smallville in high school, man. That's how long ago? 2003.
Yeah, and I would say that they're doing well there because I mean, look how much time in the game they have for that. But yeah, I mean, I think that we're lucky, me especially, because I come into this with fresh eyes. Every time I see a comic book movie, to me, I don't know as much shit as you or AJ or Eric does. Like, to me, I'm just watching what's on the screen and I'm judging it that way. So,
and that's a really good way to look at it, man, with fresh eyes and stuff like that. You're going into it like, just basically soaking in what they're giving you, as opposed to most of us going in with expectations, which usually is a really bad way to look at it, right? That's why sometimes I hate reading books before seeing movies, because the book is always better than the movie, right? I like Dune and stuff like that. Dune is a book, right? I mean, it even has an original movie as well, too, or even a TV show. But I'm really excited about the movie because it's been so long since I've read or looked at those. So that's why...
That's a great example, Dane. That's you're absolutely right about reading the book and knowing more. Have you seen the Dune trailer yet?
Oh, hell yeah, dude. Have you seen the new one that came out this week? Oh, yeah.
It looks so good.
Beautiful. I can't wait. And they moved up the release date. It was supposed to be December, and they moved it to October 22nd. I'm so excited about that. They pushed it back. I'm like, we've been waiting almost a year and a half for this movie, and they boosted it up 2 months. I'm like, thank you so much. And it's cool that the director constantly talks about the source material about that movie too on Dune. Like, he constantly says how good the books are and stuff like that. And like the continuation of it, is it going to be a solo movie just like the first one was and stuff like that? Watch those trailers if you ever get a second to see those interviews. Those
it's in two parts. I think the movie's in 2 parts. We're going to get 2 parts of it. I'm almost sure of it because they're sending some. I'm super excited for it. I really am. I'm glad you brought up Dune. Why the Last Man comes out, I think, this month too.
Oh, I can't wait! Oh, I can't wait. September. They moved it to September 19th or 23rd. I can't remember which one it is.
Okay.
Why the Last Man is by far my favorite comic ever. I love Saga. I love DC. I love a lot of it. I even read all the Infinity War ones from Marvel. But Why the Last Man is so real, down to earth, and I cannot wait for the show to come out on Hulu FX. It's going to be great. It's going to be awesome. I'm really excited.
The trailer looks great. It looks a lot like Children of Men, that sci-fi kind of vibe. But yeah, it looks cool. I'm excited for that too. I did see Black Widow. We watched Black finally.
Finally, dude. Jesus. I mean, how long did it take you to watch Quiet Place 2?
Forever. It took Eric's going out of town, and we were cat sitting for a little bit, and he has Disney Plus, and he rented it. So we watched over there. I wasn't impressed with it. You made some points that I was telling Jessica about where it's like she's just a normal person, and the shit that she does in that movie, what the fuck is this? Like, to me, it was just too much. It was
right.
I couldn't, and I told her to turn. Maybe we should just leave. I was inclined to go half hour into it. I'm okay with it,
dude. It was post Civil War Black Widow, right? And she was like surviving stuff that didn't make sense. That's a problem with Marvel. They take stuff very lighthearted, and DC really doesn't. DC's a little more psychological. The first time that Marvel felt more DC-like was Infinity War movie and WandaVision show. Those movies took themselves very seriously. There was some humor in there, like Marvel, DC humor and stuff like that too, but it was darker. There was a lot more on the line, right? If he dies, he dies.
Little Ivan Drago.
Yep. No, I mean, I liked the first. Okay, so we watched it in 2 parts, Black Widow, right? We watched it up to when they had the family meeting, and then we turned it off because it was really late and Rachel had to work in the morning, and then we watched the second part of it. The first part of it was good. It was kind of dark with the family and stuff like that too, and it felt very, very. I don't know if you've ever seen The Americans, the TV show about Russian spies and stuff. It's
incredible. I have seen it. It's awesome.
You know what I'm talking about then, like how serious it was and stuff. And then the rest of it was like, what? Yeah. Honestly, her sister was a better. I liked her sister better than I liked Black Widow or anything. Like, she was so relatable and she was so like. Like the whole posing thing, she finally somebody said like, "You're a poser. It's fine." And then she does it, and she's like, "Ugh, disgusting. I love that. I will watch the Hawkeye movie because I absolutely love Jeremy Renner. His music is amazing. If you ever listen to him on Spotify or iTunes, his music's great. He's a great down-to-earth guy. The first thing I ever saw him in was SWAT with Colin Farrell, Hurt Locker, and what was the last one? Oh, The Town. Those are like my top 3 favorite of his. Did you know? Okay, here's a little history, just a small little smidgen of Jeremy Renner. Did you know that when he went the night he was going to go see the Oscars for Hurt Locker? Did you know that he was sleeping in a house he renovated because he didn't have money out in L.A.?
No.
He didn't have a place to live. He was sleeping. He was going to pick up his tux that the studio had like gave him or something like that at the dry cleaners, and that was his. He like took a cab, didn't even have a car or anything like that before they got the Oscar for Hurt Locker. That just shows the drive that some people have for that lifestyle and being able to do it, man. And I commend you for being out in LA and doing what you love out there for as long as you have.
Dude, I love stories like that. And you obviously we know the one for Paul Bettany too, and I think that and the Jeremy Renner story you just told, you're right. And I did not know that. And Hurt Locker is probably my thing that I enjoy him most in. Hurt Locker was so good.
I like The Town. The Town has just reminded me of my friend Mike Sauber and I growing up. Like Ben Affleck and Jeremy Renner, that was us back in the day, man. We still are very much so like that. We're family.
There's a great meme or line that says, it says, good friends will try and talk you out of bad situations, but the best friends. When Ben Affleck says, I can't tell you where we're going, I can't tell you, we got to hurt some people, and he's like, when do we leave? Do we take your car or my car?
No, whose car are we gonna take?
Yeah, I think that's cool. I think Affleck directed that too. I think too, right?
He did.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Had Ryan Reynolds' wife in it too. Had Blake Lively.
Oh, I didn't know that. I didn't know that. It's funny. I'm a huge fan of Jeremy Renner, but I'm also a huge fan of Haley Seinfeld. Seinfeld. Saying it wrong. And so her and Florence, like on the same screen, that'll be great. I think that's a lot of young talent. She was in Pitch Perfect 2 and 3. And she was in the Bumblebee film too. And she's also an accomplished singer. So to see her with Jeremy and with Florence, hopefully we get a lot of Florence, because Florence Pugh's lighting it up. I mean, she kind of stole the show for Black Widow, so that'll be awesome. Yeah,
I want to see more of her, and she was great. And I'm sorry, the mom, I can't remember her name right now, but she was like in The Mummy and stuff like that too.
Rachel Weisz.
Why? Yeah. Holy crap, dude! She's like does not age. She's like she's amazing, right? Yeah, man. I'm excited for more What If. I'm excited for more Titans and stuff. I'm excited for these movies that are coming out and stuff like that too, man. It's just been great. Have you watched the Titans at all? Have you watched any of the seasons?
I watched a couple episodes of season 1, but because I didn't know who these characters were, season 1 of something's always rough, right? Because you don't know it's going to be successful. They don't give a shit ton of money to it. It's kind of like an experiment. And for me, not seeing like the trailer that you put up, that looks great.
Well, that's season 3, right?
Well, I know, but like in season 3, you're probably getting a lot of fucking money at that point.
Well, so, I mean, yeah, the coolest thing is like just how brutal it is, because DC's very, like, for example, the first like pilot and stuff like that shows Robin beating down some criminals, and he literally takes this guy's face and just like scrapes the top half of like a window with it. And people are like, we thought you were like the boy wonder, what happened to this? What about Batman? He's like, fuck Batman. It's just like, I'm like, oh, it's darker. I like it. It's a little more brutal. Okay, I'm in. It was like Robin doing some nasty shit that he normally wouldn't have done. And if you ever watch the cartoon, like Teen Titans and stuff, it's basically those characters just a little more grown up and a little bit darker. They've got, you got Raven, you got Starfire, you've got Beast Boy, you got the only thing we don't have is Cyborg, and that's because he's on a different show, Doom Patrol, right now. And I'm just excited for the next episode, because the ending, I'm not going to ruin it for you, but the end of season 3, episode 3 was probably the darkest thing that they could have done on this show. And I'm not going to spoil anything for anybody that hasn't seen it, but it definitely had me on edge, not expecting it. It like led you one way, and something happened that flipped it on the script. You're like, oh shit,
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, honestly, if the storytelling is as good as you say it is, then I'll be. I mean, what else I got to do? I just check it out. So
A lot of good actors
yeah,
in it too, man. A lot of good actors in it. I mean, like the guy who plays Jorah plays Bruce Wayne from
I
Game
love
of
Jorah
Thrones.
too. He's
Yeah.
so good in it.
And he does a lot of cool nods to each Batman. Like, you remember the Adam West dance where he's like, he does this thing with Catwoman and stuff? And does this with his hands, like the Adam West dance from the old Batman.
Travolta.
Yeah, he does something like that in the movie, like in the show at some point. It's like a nightmare, like dream escape and stuff like that. He's like talking to Robin, and he's doing that dance. And I was like, that's an interesting little nod to Adam West's Batman. He also does another thing that, like from Ben Affleck's Batman. He like does little things to homage other Batmans, which is really cool.
That's cool.
And Starfire in Teen Titans, everybody knows she's like the bubbly heart of the show and stuff like that too. She's definitely not this in Titans. She's a little bit darker. She's a little more grown up. So they have the ability of doing stuff like that. And my boy Manu Bennett did a great Deathstroke in Arrow, but there's Deathstroke in season 2, which is probably one of the better Deathstrokes I've seen in live action. So
Deathstroke was the one that you saw at the end of Justice League, right?
Yeah.
The first,
Mhm.
Okay.
Joe Manganiello played him in the Zack Snyder universe.
Yes, thank you.
Yep.
Thank you. Yeah. That's
Yeah.
that's cool.
Did you ever watch the show Ozarks?
Did I see what?
Ozark. Did you ever see Ozark with
Yeah,
Jason
I watched
Bateman?
the first 2 seasons.
Okay, so
First
you know
2 seasons.
Dell from the first season, the cartel guy, Dell?
Yeah.
He plays Deathstroke.
Oh, no shit.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
It's really good. It's really, really good.
That's interesting. It's been a while. I loved Ozarks. I came off of it, but I think Justin Bateman's best acting I've ever seen him in was in that, or is in that, I should say, because it's still going.
Mhm.
But yeah,
Definitely get to
That's
see his
awesome.
true character because he wrote, directed, and acted in it. So you actually get a full aspect of him. So it's just pretty cool.
interesting. Dude, what do you think about Scarlett Johansson suing Disney? How do you feel about that? Like all fucking, as an actor and as a, what she kind of had to go through and taking in mind the pandemic. I mean, I'm not one side or another. I'm just curious what you think about that.
So let's clear up for our readers on why she's doing it in the first place, right? So Disney kind of, I would say, actors, as we know, pretty much get a set of earnings in some cases from the actual release of shows, depending on how they do their opening weekend, right?
Right.
So the fact that Disney put it on streaming services kind of cuts them out of the contract, so to speak, because there's not an open contract for streaming service rights or viewership to go toward them monetarily, right?
Yeah.
So that's why these actors and actresses are feeling that they're getting pretty much shivved in the back by the production companies, and why they feel that they are due earnings because they are named on the movie. It's their movie, pretty much. She's the title character. Why should she feel outed, and why should the production company get all of that when she actually should have a contract for that? So I understand from an acting standpoint on why I would be kind of upset by that, because technically this is her last movie, and they've literally said they're never going to include Scarlett Johansson in another one. I mean, I have a lot of stuff against Disney for a lot of reasons. The Gina issue with Mandalorian, and all that other stuff. There's a lot of stuff that Disney has done that I've not agreed with, per se. I wasn't down for Disney buying Star Wars.
Oh, sure.
But thank God that we have Jon Favreau, because he restarted that whole franchise. Jon Favreau, we have to tip our hat to that man.
Yeah.
For one thing, because he's done it to 3 different things. Like, think about it. I want to make a Christmas movie. Makes Elf. Comes an instant classic. Right? You know what? I want to make a superhero movie. Oh, it'll never happen. You're going to get Robert Downey Jr.? No, the guy's a loser. Immediately starts the MCU. I'm going to do a Star Wars show about this guy Mandalorian. Oh, like a Western kind of thing? Nobody wants to see any of that stuff anymore. We want the newer stuff. Immediately reignites the Star Wars for new generation and the older generation and brings it all back together. Jon Favreau is a freaking GOAT in the movie industry, and we have to thank that man for a lot.
I agree.
But
I agree.
I don't really have anything more to say about these 2 shows, man. I'm just excited to watch more of them, and Why the Last Man here pretty soon too.
Yeah, I think that's gonna be. Well, you didn't tell me how you feel about the fucking Disney thing.
I just did. I said they do a lot of stuff that I don't agree with, and this is one of them.
Oh, okay. So you don't agree. So you disagree with Disney countersuing or whatever the fuck to Scarlett, right? Like.
Yeah, it's basically they're very much a piranha man. Like they get like they're whole about their image and stuff like that. But how does it look after somebody comes to you and says, "Hey, I have an issue with this," and they say no? So then you go ahead and take legal action. You're like, you know what we'll do? We're gonna out you from the industry altogether. We hate you. They sound like a petulant child instead of an actual company.
Well, I know that Bob Chapek or however he pronounces the new guy who took over for Bobby Iger. And if it's any consolation, not that for either me or you, because we're not getting any of the money that she made or fucking Liquid or
we're not being.
But,
hey, if HBO Max wants to sponsor me, I'm all down about that. I'm all for that. Absolutely. Even though they gave me a shitty season in Game of Thrones, I'm okay. I'll forgive them.
We'll put Disney Plus in the lower right-hand corner of our shit. We'll
I never said Disney. I said HBO. Everybody heard me. HBO.
No, man. I think it's interesting. I think it's interesting the way that I mean, because we talk about movies and we talk about films and whatnot, or shows too, but it's important to kind of gauge the industry, and I think that's what's important. And maybe we should talk about that in the future and spend some time on it, because the streaming service it's not going to go away. If 2020 taught us that you can HBO.
You need to repeat that whole sentence, Chris, because your audio came in really bad. Say it again.
I was just saying that it looks to me like maybe we should spend some time looking at maybe the industry and kind of, we're kind of the streaming release. It's going to go away. I think that's just going to kind of stick around and see. But it will be interesting to see how it pans out, especially for Dune, because I think Dune would be one of those movies.
Chris, fix your audio.
Yeah.
Fix your audio.
Fuck!
It sounds like you're a freaking like that Sesame Street alien trying to talk to me from like space.
Shit.
It's coming through like a tube right now.
I don't know.
It's like the mic is dying. Like that. That's how it sounds, man. I can't hear you. Can you hear me? Oh my God, your face is frozen. On Discord. Uh-oh. Well, folks, it looks like that's all the time that Chris has today. Hopefully he's not, messing up too much, but his audio just like kicked the bed. I want to thank everybody for joining us here today, and on ReelChat, we try and do this every single Sunday at 3 p.m. And hopefully we will get Chris on for the next episode too. We'll figure out what's going on with his mic. But his face right now is pretty comical. Let's just take a few moments to look at that real quick here. I don't know what happened. Anyway, thanks for much for joining ReelChat tonight. This is Nate Mill and Chris Carr. Thank you so much. If you're not following us on YouTube, please like, subscribe, share it with your friends. Hopefully, if you guys want to be a guest on the show, let us know. We have an email as well too on there as well for our YouTube channel. And if you have your own opinion, please share it in the chat. If you'd like to speak about it more, we'd love to have you on as a guest. We try and do guests every other show. And so we'll get you guys later. Respect yourselves. Respect each other. Take care.
We are the music makers, and we are the dreamers of dreams.